pass the operating rate increase is to go, ideally, we would like to go fine-free, and we would like to be open on Sundays year-round.
Right.
And those are some goals that we can have for operational.
So late fine free.
So, yes.
Lost fines.
No,
still.
no fines.
Still the pay for your
Lost
damage
and
hospital.
damaged materials will
Right.
still be
Right.
That's still a thing.
out there. Yeah, that's still a thing.
Back to the construction costs, we've done a detailed estimate that goes through, covers everything from the foundations to the finishes, to the parking lots, and generally puts it together. You may, if you have a look at it with Julie's, but it's there. There are no finite details. It is what we would describe as conceptual. There are no drawings that show where walls are specifically or things of that nature. It is very much a conceptual estimate, but having priced the libraries in the past, it's a very accurate guide, given where we are now.
No, and I think some of the real value will show up later, because what Graham and his group do is they put this in a format that, as we get future estimates, it'll be in the same format. And so if the cost changes, for one reason or another, you can start to compare things and try to find out, okay, what happened? You know, what changed along the way. So I think in large part, its value will be more obvious down the road. Yeah, yeah.
As we have copings that weren't in my copy.
There might be a few things like that, Graham.
Within this estimate, we have what's termed a design contingency, which means all the details that are not here, we put a percentage in for, so that you can't forecast everything. But at this stage, typically, what we're looking at, we've included. We've also included something for escalation, because you're not building it today, you won't be building it tomorrow. Will be probably 12 months in design, something like that, before we start construction. So you've got referendum in March, then if everything passes, maybe 12 months of design, maybe less. So you're quite a way out there at the moment. So we put something in for escalation to cover that as well.
Yeah, if it passes in March, it is unlikely that we would break ground for about a year. Because we will have significant amount of design work to go through, because we've only gone through the
Design work and bidding the project, pre-qualifying contractors, and getting the right people on board.
Yeah, I think the goal would be to start construction the
Stage
following
that.
spring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spring of 2017.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, even if the design were done earlier, there's only so
Yes.
early you could start construction.
Yeah.
If you can't
And
get
we
in the
can-
ground in
and
September,
it gives us-
October, you may as well wait until.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
and it gives us time to get
Yes.
through
Yeah.
and get those projects bid out
Yeah.
and know where we're
Yeah.
going to be.
Any questions? Oh, I forgot to add that as an overall, we have a project contingency. This is for the library's use and expenditure alone of approximately 3% at the end. So anything, as we get further along, if we haven't spent that 1.1 million or whatever, you can elect to either have something that you want out there, or take the savings and buy more books, or do whatever you want to do with it. But it's there in case we have an emergency of some kind of nature. And there will be things that we don't know, but I feel that's enough to cover us in that situation.
So Graham, I don't know if you know this offhand, if you added all, you identified 3 contingencies. If you added the 3 of them together, what does it amount to?
1.1, about 1.6, and
When you say 3, are you adding the escalation as the
Yes.
third?
oh, I wasn't adding the escalation, that's not contingency.
So that, yeah, 1.75, something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so out of the $39.5 million, there's that much in contingency.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, at this early stage, there's often a question of, are we gonna go over budget? What happens if we go over budget? And the fact, that's what the contingency's for, is so that you don't go over budget. So the contingency is in there to account for things that we don't know about yet. But it's to protect you against the risk of the project going over budget as it gets further developed.
We have an excellent record with Naval Hartley not going over budget. So,
I'd like to hear.
yeah, Naval are very, very cost conscious in their design.
Mhm.
And we work well together, I think.
Spend a little money at the entrance.
Oh, God, no! I say too much.
So I assume with the architect, 12% construction cost, that's all the consultants.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's a placeholder. It is
And
not
that is-
based on proposals or anything like that.
And remember, when we contracted with our pre-referendum team, we contracted pre-referendum only.
Right.
So the first thing that would have to happen post-referendum
Yep.
is extending those contracts, and we could discuss
If
at
you
that
were-
point
yes.
what we're looking for
If we were
from.
being unreasonable, we could work with another architect. We've yet to have that happen.
I like breaking new ground.
There is really no commitment to any one of the costs beyond pre-referendum.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're all guideline.
Right, just
And-
guidelines.
Yeah.
And maybe this would be the point at which to discuss that pre-referendum expenditure.
Yes, yes.
Because I would just like to raise for discussion, the idea that we will incur these pre-referendum expenses regardless of whether the referendum passes or not.
True.
And so we actually have the option to include those expenses in the referendum versus saying, these are expenses that we are incurring to figure this out. And does that just become a budgetary item out of what we have in reserve?
Yes.
Monies that we have, budgeted for other capital projects that
Yes.
haven't happened.
As
So
a
that-
guideline, you're talking about 150,000, just to give you
Yeah.
a guide. We in fact went through and did a revised estimate, having had a little bit more time, after we put these numbers together, and we came up with an estimate that was about 200,000 less than where we are in here.
Mhm.
So what I said to Carl is that, given that if you took the 150 out, and if you took the 200 out, that's probably 350, and if you wanted to be at 39 million, that would be okay. So, you could, if you wanted, reduce it to 39 million by doing those things, if it was what you wanted to do.
And part of the impetus behind that then would be that we could allot more funds then towards operating rather than construction.
And perhaps come out with a
Yeah.
balance and maybe keep it a little bit under that $15 per month target increase.
Right.
We had targeted to go no more than $15 per month increase for our average homeowner in Plainfield. That's about a $300,000 house. So that's what we've been working for, and we've been kind of backing out what we can do operationally. And this would give us a little more latitude on the operations side and maybe bring it in just a scooch under the $15.
I suggested it to Don, and he made me buy him dinner. So the option is yours. You could, if you wanted, have a budget of 39 million. By virtue of doing that, that wouldn't be a problem. So, and we could get the project done for that.
Right. So any reaction to that idea?
Well, any reaction to the budget in general,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I'm gonna back up then and just ask, because I know that
Sure.
we've talked about this kind of ongoing, that we do have some things already in the library, either that are recently purchased with the idea that they would transfer, or just things that we know that we want to reuse, and were those assumptions taken into account in terms of this budgeting?
No.
So potentially,
you
there
have-
would be
There-
some more
yes.
savings within
Yes.
what's in here,
Yes.
And I'm specifically thinking of the computers that we just purchased, and we talked about maybe rolling
And
some
we
of
will
those.
be purchasing to continue operating functionally in the meantime. So we will likely be bringing at least one generation, if not a couple, of our newest computers with us. One of the other things we had talked about is our self-check units. It depends on RFID or not. What the coin boxes we already own, things of that nature, may come with
Well,
us.
the security system that we just approved.
Yeah.
Yes, all
Not
of
so
those
long
HD
ago.
cameras at the very least should be able to come with us, one would hope.
Right.
And the new software, controller software for them. One of the limitations that we have in this building is bandwidth, because their HD cameras are bandwidth hogs, in case you didn't know. And too many,
big time.
the one problem
Yeah.
with the CCTV is if you get too many people watching too many HD cameras all at the same time, you can really suck up your bandwidth really fast.
Yeah,
4
Ching,
staff
ching.
members watching 16 HD cameras at a time, yeah, that's a lot of bandwidth.
now you need another server.
Yeah.
And that's more than the cameras.
So, yeah, there are things like, the memorial bench and some, just some things that are definitely coming with
Right.
us.
We're not at that level of detail
Yes.
where we could do that.
Right, I wanted
Yeah.
to see if that was
Yeah.
within
It-
there or not, and it's
yeah.
not, so
It's
that's
not.
good. That
The
means
budget
that
is as if-
we've got
You know.
Yeah.
that little bit more buffer.
Yeah,
All right,
good point.
thank you. Other things that people are noticing?
I mean, all the project materials, they all seem reasonable from what I saw at ILA for like other groups that were offering things for sale. They all seem
Yeah.
within what their book prices. So, I mean, that's nice.
A lot of them are based on purchases that we've just made at DePaul, so we've got a pretty accurate
Yeah, so
guide
that's
and knowledge
close
of
to what we're-
what was
yeah.
needed. Yeah,
And
So-
the overall, the construction cost per square foot and the overall cost per square foot are both within the realm of what is typical and reasonable. One of the things, you may remember that I had sent out that article about the landmark libraries awards and those, the new placemakers. One of the things that you can look at within that article is it talks about how much square footage and what they actually spent on their buildings. And the amount varies wildly, but this comes in lower middle of the road.
you've got a big land cost in here.
And
Yeah.
that's that
Typically you
figure
don't
on
see it.
36, the
Yeah.
390.77 per square
Yeah.
foot.
Yes, and the $390 per square foot, that's everything, that's land acquisition and furniture and all of those things that are not part of the construction cost. Because in a lot of cases, when you're talking to people about cost of construction, they're going to be talking about just construction cost, how much it costs to do the building. When we're talking about library cost per square foot, like what's on that last page, that is land and architect fees
that
and
is just
furniture and computers and all of those things.
No, this number is all construction.
That's the construction.
Yeah.
That's the 390.
Are any closing cost fees included, is that included in land or
Sorry?
closing costs?
Yes, oh yeah, that's all in the land acquisition,
Yeah.
yes.
Cost?
Yeah, we put
Yeah,
in
as a
the-
matter of fact, that's got a little cushion to, because our contracts for 2 of the properties say fair market value, and we have not received those appraisals back yet, we have estimated costs on those.
Yeah. So we got offers on 2, we've estimated on the other 2, and we put 15,000 for each property in as closing, which is what he was recommending we put in.
Yeah, 15,000 for each property.
Yeah,
Right.
for each property.
So,
Yeah.
15 times 5, $65.
No, 4.
No, because we
4,
already own.
one we already
We
own.
own already.
So it's
We
only.
we already got one.
So 60.
I mean, if you, he's got Realtors Commission 9,000, Owners Policy 1,800, Standard Title 300, update fee 125, Commercial Survey 2.5, Sale Transfer. So, you know, he gave us a pretty good breakdown
Yeah.
of what we'd be looking for from Bill. So it came to, including transfer stamp, about 14,175.
Okay.
So we put 15,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
That's-
Right.
sounds all accompanying.
Yeah. Well, and depending on exactly when it gets transacted,
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
inflation should get into that. Others? Anyone? We are at the target that we set.
I will say we
Are
weren't originally.
Yes. Are you,
Julie had to go through a
is
weekend
the
of.
board comfortable going in at the 39 million flat? Reducing not taking the reimbursables, and taking that
The
tightened up.
pre-referendum amount.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, considering we're going for an operating cost increase as well, I mean, I think it would make sense for us to, like, metaphorically, like, eat this as an upfront cost, go with a nice even number, so they can't round it up to 4 million.
Yeah.
And then.
30, when you say 39, 39.5 can be rounded to 40.
Yeah, I mean.
39 is
39.
39.
And this is money that we need to spend anyways, so.
It's,
Well,
in
not
some
anyways,
cases,
it's
it's
spent.
already
It's been
spent.
spent.
Yeah, and it's,
It's being
regardless of
spent.
what happens,
Mhm.
I mean, this is plan B
And,
or plan
and we
A,
have reserves to do this.
Mhm.
which is what the
Yes.
original,
Yes.
all of the stuff that we've been doing for the last, like, 7 years since the 2009 referendum has been, so we have reserves so that we can do this.
Right.
Mhm.
So I think we should just go for a nice number, 2 digits. 30.
No decisions. Okay. All right.
That's fine. Is that the
Is
direction?
that
Yeah, 39 next.
okay?
Everybody
Okay.
nodding heads?
All
Yes,
right.
because that will not actually be a vote until it's the vote to put it on the ballot.
Right.
So,
So we have
so as long as
13 days
that
to
will be,
think about it.
that will be the number that will be plugging in. So I think that brings us, the site plan, we kind of skipped over what we were
Yeah,
gonna
no,
show
that-
on the model.
That's all right, right. So there's really, the last page in our presentation kind of summarized some direction we were hoping to get from the library tonight. I think with respect to the concept design and the budget, I think that's all very clear. One thing we would like to clarify is that based on the revised design, we're now gonna tell the model maker to go ahead and proceed with the model. Right, so we had to confirm we had the right design before we could proceed with the model. One issue is whether on the north side of the library, we should show that additional parking or not in the model. And this is something that we could ask the model maker to make that piece of the model as a removable piece. So that we can show one way now, and later on, you could, we're doing this on models now. And sometime in the future, if you decide to do it otherwise, we could have a decrease made and insert it. But I guess, if it were up to me, I'd probably proceed without showing the additional parking on that side right now. And, unless you think it's gonna be a big issue for the public, somebody counting parking spaces or something like
Remember,
that.
it is something that we have heard repeatedly throughout all of our public meetings and on our surveys, that parking is on people's minds for this downtown site.
I think you have to look, the referendum includes the parking.
It's in the cost.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing, I
Cost of
mean,
land
it's,
acquisition.
I stand
so it
corrected.
helps
That makes sense.
justify that
Yes, that
final
makes sense.
figure, this is part of all of that
Yep,
overall development.
all right.
That,
Although if you wanna make it removable so we can show, this
We
is
will-
what, this
We will
is,
ask them.
this is what it looks like with additional parking, and this is what it looks like if we don't do the additional parking and just let everybody, I mean,
see,
Shall I tell you the cost of that roughly? If you did.
Right, yeah, because otherwise, well, what's it gonna cost if we vote for it this way then?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think,
Prohibitive
I
options,
think
we
we
can't do
have a
that.
plan, it has been formulated based on,
Purchase.
until Monday, all of the feedback that we've gotten regarding parking. And so, my suggestion would be that we continue with the plan that we have formulated that leads us to the figures that Graham has calculated based on what
Yep.
Nagel Hartwig put together, and if it needs to be revisited after the fact, then we can do that.
Yep.
But otherwise, I think it becomes a discussion point of contingency on the referendum, and we don't want that question to be out there.
choices are bad, so when it comes to this kind of number.
Right. Contingencies.
How much can we save if we don't have that parking?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
does the number drop down to 37 million? Well, then.
No.
No, that's not what we do.
Yeah, we don't wanna have to have that
And we
discussion.
don't want that on that, we don't want that discussion.
The model represents what is
Yeah.
in the referendum,
What we
Right.
have,
no question.
Okay,
And-
that's
and
clear,
It's this guy.
Frankly,
yes.
I don't know if that comment about parking will be a universal, universally shared at all levels.
Interesting, yeah. I think it would be wrong to change your minds based on.
One meeting.
Yeah, one meeting.
Right.
But it wasn't, it was very congenial, very friendly, it was just.
Right, right,
a
there was no,
discussion.
well, it won't pass the board if we do this, it was, this is something to consider, and so we'll consider it when we get to that point, but right now, we have a plan.
And you have to go to referendum, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, any other direction that you need done?
No, thank you.
Okay.
It's kind of a milestone.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
Does it have a diamond?
I wish.
Yes, it's in the, on the front right here, there's the diamond.
Yeah.
All right, and I think.
And Graham, that's the extent of what you've got for this evening.
Yep, I'm good, I will amend that.
So your packet addendum is the last thing. The bond, the draft ballot question
Right,
ordinances. This-
starting on page 37.
No, actually, that's your, nope, starting on page 1, the stapled separate.
Never mind, ignore 3738.
Yeah, ignore those, because
That's right,
they've
because
all
this is the new,
changed.
this is the
Yes.
new, yep, replacement.
This is the email
Okay,
that sent
so
us, right?
you have, no, you didn't even get this one in email.
Oh, okay.
This is the
No, this
newest,
is what was sent.
this is the newest version. New.
So, on to staple
Um,
packet.
I was, let's put it this way, I was still typing at 5:30. Kelly Costin and Sharon Levy from Chapman and Cutler, our bond counsel, were on the phone with me this afternoon, and we were going through some of the numbers on the limiting rate question and talking about the ballot question, and among other things, it finally hit me in the head that they had us down as Will County, not Will and Kendall counties, which, it appears throughout the document. So I was typing madly and making sure we had Will and Kendall in all the appropriate places. So the beginning here, your first pages all the way through 1 through 16, that is the draft of the minutes, and the ordinance, starting on page 2, that's the ordinance for the issuing of bonds. You'll see that we have the draft ordinance is the 39.5, and so that will be updated. But this shows you all the verbiage that appears in the ordinance, because I know you all wanted to see that prior to our meeting on the 16th. This is the standard kind of.
This is all the statutory
Yep, the
language that has to
statutory-
be used.
Yep, and it does lay out the date of the election is right there in the title of the ordinance. The 15th day of March, 2016. We do anticipate this being passed on December 16th, so I've gone ahead and inserted that. And you can see on page 5 of your packet, which is page 4 of the ordinance, that shows the official ballot. That is how it will appear on the ballot. And the question on the ballot would be, shall the bonds of the Plainfield Public Library District, Will and Kendall Counties, Illinois, in the amount of $39 million be issued for the purpose of building in addition to and repairing, remodeling, and improving the existing Plainfield Public Library building, furnishing necessary equipment therefore, and acquiring library materials and electronic data storage and retrieval facilities in connection therewith.
I have a question.
Therefores, and there's the existing building thing is the language.
Oh,
That's
building in addition to.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like a
That-
building.
that's
addition.
like we're adding
If
now,
people
that's
read this, they're
bad,
gonna
yeah.
think,
Yeah.
that's not what they said they're
Who
gonna
wrote the question, Bob?
Statute.
Oh, the statute.
The way you have to.
So I will triple check with Kelly that is
To me,
the
that's
way
just
it.
misleading.
I
do.
know.
Extremely
No.
misleading.
And
Yeah,
welcome
since
to
building
the
addition.
statutory language. So we will.
People are gonna expect this
It's
building to
existing,
stay,
yeah.
and then we're gonna just
Yeah.
be.
Oh, they
adding
assume
on.
we're
They could
remodeling
look at the
it
model
as-
line or-
That's,
And existing.
And this is gonna be 2015.
We're not remodeling.
Oh, that's
We're
wrong.
not remodeling and improving the existing Plainfield Library.
Right below
Oh,
the
the-
paragraph,
We are not-
where it says
but
dated
that's how
this
the
blank
statute
day
goes.
of
The
blank.
Decembers, I
That'd be
have to make,
December.
I have to
Yeah.
make sure all the December dates, hang on.
Right, December
I
15th,
will
March 16th.
triple check with Kelly Cost that we can get addition and existing out of that question, but
Crystal, I can see people.
Special repairing, that's.
yeah.
Yes, it's like remodeling
Very
and
misleading.
improving and repairing the existing buildings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will double check with him that that's not a leftover
Vicky's
from our
raising-
prior
Vicky's raising
question.
Right, no,
Yes, ma'am.
not in the least.
I'm sorry to interrupt your meeting, but I do remember in '09, we had the same issue, and on a citizens group then that was helping and working on the referendum, we ended up having to publicize very widely, as much as we could, the side by side. That this is the legalese, this is what it means in English for all the rest of us residents. And we had to push that because the statute language was the same at the time, even though it was a different plan at the time.
Yes, and actually, at that time, we were pursuing the single question option, and the statutory language was all about the limiting rate, and it did not allow you to talk about building. And so,
Because it made as little sense for that situation as this sounds for this situation. So we had to stress in layman's terms,
I
plain
get all
English,
that now.
like crazy.
so this is definitely going to be one of the things that we will be focusing on in that second special edition newsletter that's going out to all of our homes. One of the things that will be in there is exactly what the ballot question is gonna look like.
This is what it says,
And-
this is what it
And
means.
actually, I think it may wind up in both of them, because I really think that this is something we are going to have to repeat.
Right, that's I think one of those, you can't educate your public enough on.
Exactly. And to be able to say, this is what the statutory language says it has to say, this is what it means. All right.
All right.
I think the good thing there is you've got acquiring library materials as well, which gives you the ability to buy more
Yes.
books with carry cost, which wasn't always the case with some bond issues
Yeah, we
previously.
can do everything except build a building.
Under section 9, the suburban life citizen, I'm not familiar with that page.
Section 9 back up there.
Oh!
Oh.
We should choose a different venue.
This is why we do these things.
And is there anything that's updated in terms of, it lists specifically the voting day and hours, and yet we have early voting? Is that another one of those statutory things?
As
It doesn't
the-
reference
the
that,
legal,
but,
the legalese has to reference the actual election day.
okay,
So early voting's for our informational campaign.
right. Okay,
Citizens. Information.
I can't-
right.